Hey everybody, Jeff Morrell here with eXp Realty. Hope you guys are having a great day, good week. Got Kevin Betts on here. Kevin has been doing real estate for a long time here in Colorado Springs. I'm gonna let him share his story, but just here recently made the move to eXp. Welcome aboard, Kevin.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate
It's
it.
great having you over here, man. Seriously, we've known each other for quite a long time. So can you
Yeah.
share with everybody just some of your story, a little bit of your background, and then we'll kind of get into this a little bit. So.
Yeah, just quick my background. I'm from Colorado. Been in the real estate industry actually about 21 years. I actually started as a title rep, did that for about 6 years, had zero intentions. I'd get asked all the time, hey, why aren't you selling real estate? Had no interest in doing it. Was pretty happy, content, was putting up some good numbers, and was pretty happy where I was. The game changer for me was having a kid on the way. And suddenly you walked outside and the whole world looks different. And what was okay for one season was not okay in the next. So had some observations in that time, how agents ran their businesses, whether they were individuals or teams or owners, different philosophies on prospecting and all that kind of played into my experience. But then I made the switch in '04. So it's been about 15, almost 16 years. I think my kid was born in January, and so this January he'll be 16, and then in May, 16 years from that, is I was the next day at my first open house in High Forest Ranch. So made the switch, and yeah, so here we are. That was quite a while ago.
Right. And were you at Remax the whole entire time?
Pretty much. I had a short stint at another company when I came back into the industry at one point. But for the most part, yeah, I was at Remax.
Okay. Now, and when did I hooked up with you the first time to show you this? When was it? It was last year.
I want to say it was about a year and a half ago, and it was probably pretty quickly after you made the move.
Right. Because I joined we moved over February 2018. So, I mean, it was probably sometime March or April, I'm guessing.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
And you looked at it.
No, I don't think initially. I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Did I?
I don't remember. Maybe not.
All I know is
you didn't. We got for coffee, and you weren't too interested. And no.
I think the first time, I was like, "That's cool," but I don't think I even took a look. I was happy where I was at. I had no intentions of leaving. I think, I thought the only way I'd ever leave down the road is if I was going to do my own thing, and by that I mean, build something of my own that I had some residual ownership in. So initially I didn't even take a look. It wasn't until later, I think you circled back probably 6 months or so later.
Possibly, yeah.
And at that time I was looking at doing some recruiting. Anyway, I was, I think for the first time actually considering starting a team, which I've never done that. I've always had kind of been on my own.
Okay.
And so I think at that time, the reason I took a look is I thought, well, as I'm looking at taking on some recruiting, let's see what we're up against. Let's see what the competition's doing. And took a look and I was like, oh, damn, that's really good. So, yeah.
Can I ask just on a side note, like what kind of production do you do typically in a year? Do you have an idea? Like last year, volume of business roughly? Just
usually when I look back, I mean, by myself, I've never really been, somebody that set out to be the highest producer. I've always been, I'd say, between 20 to 30 deals a year.
Okay.
And sometimes, on the lower end of that, there were some years where the average purchase price was a little higher, so that helped out too. But yeah, by myself.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you took a look, and then I know we've just kept in touch. I mean, we kept in touch. You came to a few of our lunches. You really dug into this. What were some of the things that finally got you to the point where okay, it's time to make a move? Because I know it was a huge decision for you. I mean, it's just maybe you share some of that, and even just with where you were at and stuff for people that don't know. I mean, it wasn't just a flip decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the more I took a look, the longer the list got as far as the benefits or the reasons why. But I can tell you that when I first took a look, there were two things that stood out to me right off the bat. And that was that it solved two of the biggest problems I saw in real estate. And that was no loyalty and no retirement. And talk about that for a quick second. Honestly, if you'd asked me back then, well, Kevin, what are the three biggest issues you see in real estate? The third one would have been, that there's no, generally there's no healthcare options available. All this stuff is self-funded. And so, but now that's different too. But at the time before that was being talked about, no loyalty, no retirement is what I saw. And what I mean by that, like these days, retirement's unheard of in the corporate world, let alone in real estate. So you either need to self-fund it. Well, you need to self-fund it. Right. But the statistics are that just most people don't. They work until they die, especially in real estate, with the ebbs and flows of the industry. People spend what they make. And so at some point, you should be able to work because you want to, not because you have to. Right. And you can self-fund it. There's people that do it, just saying the majority of people don't. That's just the statistics. Mm-hmm. So if your brokerage makes it available to you that as a second stream of income that you can fund your retirement, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Right. There's a lot of agents that'd be in a different place today if that was something that was available to them 5, 10, 20 years ago. Absolutely. So that was part of it. The loyalty part of it I saw because all the time I would talk to agents. It was one of the reasons I didn't do a team. But I would always talk to agents that were frustrated because they'd bring somebody on, they'd help them, they'd train them, they'd support them, and then next thing you know, they leave to go do their own thing, and they're all upset about it. And that person has a right to do that. But so that was part of it. But the other thing was, if you're an owner or a team leader, not everybody's going to do recruiting, and I get that. There's just production agents, and that's fine too. But if you're an owner or a team leader, you have to recruit, and you have to recruit because everybody else is. And so I knew that if I put in all this time and effort to bring somebody over, and even if they come over, that's great. But there's the chance that while they come over, somebody else leaves out the back door, goes across the street. And while across the street, they work to bring them in, somebody else goes out their back door, takes 5 people with them to open their own new company. So there's always this constant attrition and moving around. And we're having this argument over splits and fees and caps. Everybody's got their value proposition. Remax has got theirs. KW's got theirs. The independents have theirs. And at the end of the day, it's the same thing but different. So those are lateral moves, in my opinion. And I was never going to make a lateral move. This was the only non-lateral move that I saw.
Very cool.
And then the third.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the third thing. Like I said, if you'd asked me back then, what's the third issue? I would have said, generally you don't find benefits being offered. Sometimes somebody has a spouse where I've seen people have a spouse that keep a job just for the benefits. Right. That's a whole other conversation, right? Yeah. But now that's, you probably know a little more about that than I do. Now that's a topic where that's being rolled out as something else they're doing for agents here too. But otherwise, the fact that I could, over time, build an annuity, keep doing what I'm doing now, build an annuity without the overhead, unless I choose to, without the liability, because the eXp takes that on. And then I can expand, no borders, no walls. I can go into Denver. I can go outside of Colorado. I can have business in Texas, Indiana. I've got a kid that's getting ready to go to school in a couple of years. What if he goes to school in California? What if he chooses a Texas school? If he chooses a Colorado school, great. But if it's out of state, maybe I want a second residence there. Maybe I want to have business out there. I really didn't have a practical application for that before, but I do now, where even if I want to have not just a team out there, but if I want to do real estate myself there, I can have a license in that second state. We know people that have moved slowly from here to another state. Sure. Whether they wanted to be in the warmer state, right? What do you call that? Snowbirds. Thank you. So now you can have your business here, build up your business there, slowly migrate in that direction, have your license there, but hang it with the same brokerage. Whereas otherwise, you're hanging it with two different brokerages, or maybe the same, but you've got 2 sets of fees, 2 caps, 2 splits, whatever, the whole thing, and you're hanging your license. And so, you can just go on and on. We haven't even talked about, training, leads generation.
And I think it's such a paradigm shift, I think, for people. But, Remax, when it came along, was a paradigm shift.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't around. I don't remember any of this because I had nothing to do with real estate, whatever, when Remax started 30 years ago, whatever it was now.
Me neither.
But I'm guessing right now that Dave Liniger, when he developed that model, because it was different,
absolutely,
he took a lot of flack for it, for a while.
Absolutely.
And then it became the biggest
until
thing.
It became the norm. Yeah.
And then here comes Keller Williams. It's a paradigm shift. It'll
Same
never
thing.
work, whatever. And for 10 years, they're getting a bunch of flack and whatever. And I get it. And now they've become the biggest real estate company in the world. Great
Yep.
company. I was there for 5 years. It's a good company. But now here comes another one, and this is a paradigm shift.
Absolutely.
And I think so. It's kind of going through what Netflix went through. Whatever, that'll never work. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Blockbuster's gone because they didn't listen. They were too late in the game. And all these companies, Airbnb. I mean, it's just like, what a dumb idea. What's that? It's never going to work. Well, they rent more rooms on a nightly basis than the top 3 hotel chains combined, and they don't own any buildings. Those kind of things, it's different, but then it's accepted, and now it's the norm.
Yeah, you mentioned Netflix. I haven't read it, but I just heard recently that the founder of that company wrote a book called "That'll Never Work."
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah, and he's the guy that got turned down by Blockbuster to buy him out. But anyway.
Yeah, and we're hearing all kinds of stuff, like we're getting a lot of that stuff. Oh, this isn't sustainable. Oh, whatever. And it's from all these other companies that are losing agents like crazy. And I get it. They're trying to, there's holes in the ship, and they're trying to plug those holes. I get it. But the one thing I would say, is that, again, it wasn't a flip decision for you. You got these big, big companies and teams. Like, there was a guy 2 weeks ago, this guy with 175 agents in Miami, Florida. I forget his name. There's an interview right now online going around with him. Sean Kokoska interviews this guy. It's a quick little 10-minute interview, great for broker owners to take a look at. But, he brought 175 agents over. Would he be over here and have made that move, putting his whole business on the line, risking that if he wasn't for sure that this is the next thing?
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing. It's just like, and next thing you know, becomes the biggest thing out there. And I think that's where we're headed.
And I saw a lot of that too, when I started digging into it, doing a little more research. There's, I had my own concerns. Some of those are maybe the same that other people would have. And there was, a couple of criticisms that I heard. And one of them was, a question that I would hear people ask is, well, who's over there? And probably a lot of people are even surprised here. We're almost at 100 agents in Colorado Springs, and it's been some silent growth. I think silent growth that's about to get really loud. But but as I started looking at that, couple of things. One is, when you make the point of entry pretty accessible and open, you're going to get all types. I mean, look at the agent population in Colorado Springs as a whole. We know that 10 to 20% of all the agents do 80 to 90% of all the volume. We already know that.
Sure.
And so that's going to be the case here or anywhere else. Various levels of experience, various levels of production. And so that's just a reality, I think, of life and in this industry. So you have 3 groups of people. They're either going to be content, or they're going to plug in and they're going to grow because of everything that's available, or they're going to leave. And that's just something that happens in real estate anyway.
Sure.
So I saw that, but then the other thing that I saw that seems like it was kind of new to this area. When I looked outside Colorado Springs and outside Colorado, that's what I saw. I saw big offices, top producing agents, top teams in the company, top teams in the state, all leaving to come over here because of what this company does for its agents. And if you don't mind, throw out a couple of stories of people that I came across. Like one guy, I think he was the top number 1 or number team in California. Looked at not just this, but started looking at other options and had companies throwing big dollars at him. One company was throwing $800,000 at this guy with his team to, hey, come over. But when he looked at it, he realized that shortly over a period of time, he was going to end up giving all that back because of the compensation structure. He was a KW agent. When he went to talk to his brokers about, hey, I'm thinking about leaving and looking at this company. And within hours, he had a phone call from Gary Keller that was putting him on an airplane so that they could talk about it. And they did, and they met. And at the end of that conversation, and he talks about this story's online. If anybody wants a link, message me and I'll send it to you. But he asked Gary, he said, do you have a vehicle for an exit strategy, selling my team or, down the road, the end game. Mm-hmm. And Gary told him, let me get back to you. And and emailed him the next day. And hey, I'm still thinking about it. I'll get back to you. And it was 3 or 4 days go by of the same thing until finally the guy said, I really appreciate your input because we've got to make a decision. And at the end of it, he said he didn't really have a vehicle for him to sell it, that he wouldn't get much for it. And the best thing he could do is just, continue to produce until he didn't want to anymore. So,
not a good answer.
No, not a good answer. So at the end of the day, the guy brings his whole team over here.
Yeah.
2 more I'll just share with you real quick that I found in my research. One lady that took a look at eXp was thinking about coming over, talked to her brokers and her franchise. They said, no, what you need to do is dive in a little more. And so she did. She bought a franchise. She didn't just buy one. She bought 2, said she invested 6 figures twice. And then after all that deal was said and done, the people that she bought the franchise from left and went to eXp.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So that, and then it took her another 2 years or so. I think she had to break out early to come to the same conclusion that, this isn't where I want to align my future. I want to go this way. And another guy that comes to mind is another independent operating by himself, his own broker owner, no other agents because he didn't want the headaches. He didn't want to babysit. He didn't want to recruit. He didn't want the liability. But when he took a look at eXp, he ended up coming over too because he saw that he could have the benefits of being an owner and having growth without having the liability, and he couldn't pass it up either. So I just started seeing, those stories and, of other people's experiences, and the fact that outside of this market that it was top producers, top teams from the top companies leaving, coming over here. And I just thought, what? As that migrates and makes its way here to the Colorado Springs market or further in Colorado or in other states around the country, which we're allowed to do, then I want to be on the front end of that and not the back end.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Can you just share real quick, just a couple, because again, this wasn't just an overnight thing like I'm in. You really dug into this and a lot of due diligence on it. I mean, what were some of the obstacles that you had to get through to make the decision? What were some of the objections maybe that you came across or just had to figure out and work your way through to before you could actually pull the trigger?
Yeah. But beyond that, it was definitely not an overnight decision. In fact, in the year it took me to come to the conclusion, the company more than doubled. So that played into my decision as well. But, for me, I'll just, call out the pink elephant in the room. It was personal. It was family. My dad's in real estate, runs what I have zero hesitation in saying that in terms of a traditional model, the best office in town. He is the best there is. I've said it before. I still believe that. Mm-hmm. He's the best there is. It's the best office in town. And as people take a look at eXp, if they're doing that and they decide that it's not for them, that's who you should go talk to. Absolutely. There's more experience in that office. There's more wisdom. There's better coaching. There's better tools. There's no better place that somebody could be if that traditional business model is what you want. So that was extremely difficult. But at the end of the day, I had a business decision that I had to make, and I couldn't ignore something that literally has the power to change my life, to change my financial future and the future of my family.
Right.
That was the biggest thing. And a difficult decision to make. But beyond that, I think the first question was obviously, hey, it's a newer company that I hadn't heard of. Not a lot of people had, is it legit? Got to looking at it, like I said, in the time that I took looking at it, they more than doubled. Let's say I kind of already told you about the experiences. That was all a part of that.
Can I say one thing real quick when you mentioned the legit part, and again, so just so people understand this too, a year and a half ago, we got uplisted to the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
And just to hit that, that was a huge deal when that happened. And I didn't realize how big that was. There are hundreds and hundreds of companies that apply for that every year. Last year they picked 37 and we were one of them. I mean, they come through those companies with a fine tooth comb. All the financials have to be there, the longevity of the company, the corporate staff. I mean, they dig into those companies big time. And for us to get picked for that was a huge deal.
Yeah, that makes a statement for sure.
Totally makes a statement. You can track the stock EXPI. If you want to get on the NASDAQ, take a look at it. That's on there. But again, I think too, with all these big companies and big teams that are making the move over here, it's just like I got this friend Willie Miranda. I'm going to do an interview with him here soon. Willie, is back in Albany, New York, #1 independent broker back in Albany, 81 agents. Now it took him a year to dig into this, because again, he's like, it's 17 years of building this company, whatever. And is he going to risk that? Is he going to put that on the line? If there's any sense of doubt whatsoever, he's not coming over here, and I don't know, a month ago, it was announced, here he is, Willie Miranda Real Estate Group, now brokered by eXp.
Well,
We're
and
hearing
I
this
just,
every week. Here comes those stories, and again, that to me just backs the whole thing
yeah.
up. This is where it's going,
Yeah, and I just heard the other day, Brent Go's story. I mean, his production, 4,000 deals in 20 years. You're talking, even if every year is the same, and we know it wasn't, that's 200 deals a year, right? But some were less, some were more. And for him to say that he went to, what, eight of the brokers and team leaders that he knew the closest to say, hey, pick this thing apart because I'm about to leave a company that I love. And what am I missing? Am I missing something? And they're like, nope. And they all come with him.
They all come with
that. Yeah, that. And then the other thing, I came across an interview with Glenn Sanford, the founder of the company, watched that, got to learn more about who he was, his background, and how he came up with the idea, which came out of the downturn, his prior experience as a total brainiac, the way I understood it. And then out of the downturn said, why aren't we doing something more progressive in the world of real estate? And that's where it all came from. And then also the fact that, they were growing twice as fast as any other company ever has. And the fact that you look at the majority of that has taken place in the last 2 years, 2 to 3, but I'd say 2 years compared to how big the company was then to now. So yeah, all of that, definitely convinced me that this was legit. And it's no more, whether you like it or not, it is no more going anywhere than Zillow is getting out of the game. It's not happening.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this, Kevin, and then we'll wrap it up. Like, where do you see yourself with this? I mean, like, again, I know you're excited to be here. I know it's a whole new thing. You're getting everything set up. You just made the move. Where do you see yourself? Where would you want to be with your real estate business? Like, I don't know, 5 years from now. What do you see happening?
It's hard to even honestly comprehend that. I mean, when you really take a look at the comp plan and the fact that there's no borders, no walls, like I can't, and I've seen so many other people's stories, that, hey, in a year, this is where I wanted to be. And then it blew it out of the water. Yeah. I'm not even sure I can wrap my head around what it would look like in the next 5 years, but definitely well beyond Colorado Springs, not just Denver, but beyond the state of Colorado, all over the country. I know we've opened Canada. We're talking about Australia and UK are next. So eventually it'll be in all the same countries, as the other companies.
Yeah.
But also with increased production as well. And that was one of the criticisms that I heard too, as well, production and it's, it's all about recruiting. And honestly, it's really not. When you get in there and you do the research, like I see production emphasized a great deal. Huge. You look at the fact that the CRM that they have available that would cost you $7,000 a year outside of the company that's provided, free, included. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about tapping into that. It's not something I've done. I've never been a fan of buying leads. I'll just tell you, I've got a lot of respect for guys like Brian Macker that do it the old-fashioned way, that every day, 9 to 11, he's in the office on the phone. Sure. With his database without fail. I have a lot of respect for a guy like that. So that was, when I came into the industry, that was kind of my foundation for it. But I am kind of excited about taking a look at that KV Core platform, the CRM, to kind of add, to my production there. Because the thing is it's not just about recruiting. Not everybody's going to want to do that, and that's fine. It's just that the comp plan for the recruiting is so attractive that I think that it's hard to not want to participate in that. So anyway, so I see something that grows beyond Colorado Springs for me, and increased production as well.
For sure. Well, and again, just to hit that, it's about 5% of the agents, 5 to 10% that do any recruiting at all. Most are moving over here because the best training I've seen in 18 years of being in real estate by far. The stock bonuses, building retirement with this thing, now the health insurance coming, I think that's huge. That's just getting launched right now. The lead system that you mentioned, KV Core, I had Boomtown. I used Boomtown for a long, long time, 10 years. And, now for me, you can do different things, but I paid about $2,000 a month for it. So 24 grand a year. And now I come over here and shut that off, and I'm using KV Core, which is $600 a year for all of us here. It's part of your monthly bill, and so It's just like, and it's a better system. You know Wayne Pinniger. Do you know Wayne?
Yeah, yeah.
Wayne, I saw Wayne probably 6 months ago. Wayne popped up at a coffee shop I was at and was asking me about Boomtown. And I was telling him about it, whatever. And Wayne's been a realtor here for a long, long time. I shared with him about Boomtown, but I said, hey, before you buy into Boomtown, I would tell you, look at KB Core. Like, I'm just now getting it set up. I'm hearing nothing but great things from all the agents in the eXp. I'm just now getting that going. I ran into him about a month ago on a Friday over here at a coffee shop 5 minutes from my house. And he comes up to the table. He's like, Jeff, I got to talk to you. He's like, oh my gosh. He says, I got KB Core set up. Oh my, I should have done that 5 years ago. Best thing I've ever done in all my years of real estate. He was just raving about it,
Right.
And so anyway, and he's not part of eXp. He just bought into it himself. And so again, the fact that that's included though for everybody here, for the new agent who could never afford something like that, you build up to something like that. But I think it's great for them. Great for agents like you that have been around for 15, 16 years. You could add this into your platform that you're doing right now if you want to. You don't have to, but it's there. And it's good, and it's a great system. So anyway, big things are going on. But anything you want to wrap it up with at all? Any last thoughts at all?
The only thing I don't think we we could go on all day, so it's not the only thing we didn't touch on, but one thing we didn't touch on is one of my concerns was, am I going to miss the sense of community in the office, the culture in the office itself? And honestly, for me, I actually have a lot of experience working from home. It's never really bothered me. I know that's not for everybody. And I know there's some talk about, somebody having an office. I mean, one day I might consider doing that of my own. That, or there's the strong likelihood that we'll bring over somebody that has an office already. I think the person that makes that decision, that's going to be huge, because probably a lot of people will flock into this company because of that person, or maybe what's available, especially the people that's important to them. So there's a huge opportunity there for somebody's going to do it. But otherwise, one thing I saw was actually a much greater sense of community. This sounds a little weird, but when you're in a traditional office, you're connected to the people within your office. But when you're part of this cloud campus and the workplace by Facebook, what I'm seeing there is people interacting across state lines. You're helping each other out, and it breeds this whole new life and enthusiasm into the company and a sense of community. Like, you're connected all over the country. Yeah. I never saw that, collaboration with people across town, much less in Chicago or in California or in New York. And so that's been something that's pretty cool to see. Otherwise, one other thing I'll throw out there is just kind of slick that, you can get to from the beginning of a transaction to the end without ever having to go in the office, if that's the type of person you are. Everything's electronic, everything's uploaded. But I will tell you that the only thing I had to, I went into the office other times for other things, but as far as having to go to the office, the only thing I had to go there to do is bring the check from the title company to the office to have that processed, and then go back in again when it was time to pick it up and take it to the bank. And the fact that we get paid here at closing, direct deposit,
sure,
that's so easy. And especially if you're somebody that's doing some volume.
Yeah.
And anyway, but the sense of community, I think, is that actually it's not missing. It's just different. And I think it's actually way better.
Well, and one thing with that too, I think, the fun that people are having, I was at a conference, an eXp conference here. It's been about a year ago, but I remember, I remember seeing these realtors on the stage talking who've been in the business for 30 years, a couple of them. And they shared this. They said, for the first time in a long time, I'm excited about my real estate business, And they were talking about just how much fun they're having. Yeah. And in fact, eXp picked up on that. If you go to one of our conferences now, you'll see a banner up on the wall, eXp Realty, making real estate fun again.
Yeah, right.
And I'm hearing that. I heard that from a lady at our lunch last week. She's been doing real estate since 1970, and she's with us here in town. And she just said, you know what, I got to just tell you something. I'm just having a great time.
Absolutely.
And we are seeing that, the community, the sense of community, the collaboration is beyond anything that I personally have seen. It's being here. From workplace, everybody nationwide working together. Even every Friday morning, they do a company meeting. I never went to the meetings. I hated going to the meetings. you know?
Yeah.
Whereas in here, it's in workplace. There's like 1,000 people in there, and you can just. I listened to it today on my way to an appointment, and it was on my phone live,
Yep.
while I'm driving, whatever. And it's recorded, so I could listen to it over the weekend if I want to. I don't even have to be there. I could do it in my pajamas, being right here. But we're all interacting with each other on there as well.
Yeah.
We did a thing at our house. A week ago today, we had an Oktoberfest party. We're recording this here on November 1st. Last Friday, we had a thing here. We had, I don't know, there were 30 people here at our house, just having food and drinks, and just had a lot of fun, and we're doing that stuff like, a couple times a month. Just let's pull together, have more fun. I'm having more fun here and more collaboration here than I ever had when I was at these other offices with a couple hundred agents, and I was never in the office.
Well, yeah. And it's exciting to see, like, what is that going to look like a year from now?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You didn't see that a year ago, right?
No.
So what's that going to look like a year from now? And I had a friend tell me here recently, I thought, that's a pretty powerful way to look at it is, we always talk about, well, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is I'm still selling real estate. I was doing that already. But she was like, forget the worst that can happen. Like, what's the best that can happen? Because you look at what's the best that can happen. It's pretty good, Well,
one of the things I realized, because here we are, back in the day, and we were able to pull back a little bit ago. I mean, with our real estate, we've still done, 12, 15 deals a year. But, back 10 years ago, we were doing 180 deals a year. I mean, it was crazy. We had a team going and very, very busy. But I just realized too, it's like, okay, if I don't do this, where am I going to be 5 years from now? I'm still going to be doing 30, 40 deals a year. Where am I going to be 10 years from now? Still doing 30, 40 deals a year. I mean, whatever. It's like, that's always going to go on. Or here, I think within 3 to 5 years, you do have some options.
Mm-hmm.
I could still do 30, 40 deals a year. Nothing wrong with that. But I could also maybe do, half a dozen deals a year and make more money than as if I was doing 30, 40 deals a year. I'll take that all day long, because of the multiple streams of income that come with this company. It gives everybody options here to kind of build your business how you want to, but to be able to pull back if you want to also, and that's huge, because otherwise I'm just still going to be the guy doing the number one guy in town right now, whoever it is still going to be doing real estate 5 years from now, starting all over again, January 1st. And that's where it was. It's a hamster wheel. Here's a way to get off the wheel. And then that's one of the biggest things for me. And I love helping other realtors figure this out and take a look at this. And if it's for them, great. If it's not, great, whatever. But a year from now, they might come back. I mean, that's why we're sitting here right now, So, anyway, but, well, very cool. I appreciate your time, man. Welcome aboard. It's really good to have you here. Seriously, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm excited to see where this goes, Seriously.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Some big things that are going to happen.
Yeah, and thanks for your persistence.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, guys, thank you very much. We'll be doing this again. We'll be talking to all kinds of agents here in town. Like he said, we had less than 20 here in the Springs a year ago, and we're almost up to 100 right now. And I think it's going to double probably in the next 6 months at the pace we're going. It's just where we're going. So it's definitely worth a look. I will tell you. Get back to Kevin. Get back to me. Reach out to us. It's worth a coffee. It's worth a webinar. It's worth looking at some videos online. Just evaluate it for yourself. If it's not for you, totally good. At least you know how it works. It doesn't hurt to look. That's for sure. So anyway, thanks again, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Okay, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.